The package was a Christmas present, a Barbie doll. Her parents had ordered it weeks earlier. She had wanted one for a long time. The man who delivered it to her front door that evening was the same man who killed her. Athena Strand was 7 years old. She never opened that gift. Athena Strand was born on May 25, 2015, in Duncan, Oklahoma. Her parents divorced when she was young. Her father moved to Texas. Her mother stayed in Oklahoma, but both of them stayed present. Regular visits, shared holidays, a split family that genuinely tried to work. Eventually, both her parents remarried. Athena gained 2 younger sisters. She was close to them. Happy. By all accounts, Athena was the kind of kid who found joy in ordinary things. Playing outside, spending time in nature, running around with her dad in the woods and fields near his home in Boyd, Texas. A quiet, remote stretch of land that felt far from anything. She loved it there. In late 2022, when Athena was 7 years old, she went to stay with her father in Texas temporarily, through the holidays, after which she would return to her mom in Oklahoma. She was attending a local elementary school. She got along well with her dad's new wife, Elizabeth. It was supposed to be a normal stretch of time before Christmas. November 30th, 2022 was supposed to be a normal Wednesday. If you want to follow cases like Athena's, subscribe to Unresolved Years Mysteries right now. Turn on notifications. Hit that like button. We cover the cases that deserve more than a headline. Now let's get into what happened that evening. Athena came home from school around 4:15 in the afternoon. Her father and grandfather were out hunting. She was home with Elizabeth. At some point that evening, Athena and Elizabeth had an argument. Nothing major, the kind of friction that happens between a stepmother and a 7-year-old adjusting to a new household. Athena got upset and went to her room. Elizabeth went to the kitchen to start making dinner. About 20 minutes passed. She went to Athena's room to call her for dinner. The room was empty. Elizabeth checked the whole house. She checked the yard. She called her husband's relatives, who lived a few hundred yards away. Sometimes Athena would wander over there. They hadn't seen her. She called her husband. He told her to call 911 and started driving home immediately. At 6:40 in the evening, Elizabeth called the police. Officers arrived 14 minutes later. Here's where I want you to pause for a second. Athena was 7 years old. It was dark outside. She was afraid of the dark. Does it sound like she walked out of that house on her own? To the relatives, the answer was clearly no. But police had to work the evidence they had. And at that moment, the most obvious explanation, a child upset after an argument, possibly wandered, had to be tested before the darker possibilities could be fully pursued. Officers immediately began searching the surrounding area. The house sat in a remote, rural part of Boyd Woods on all sides, fields stretching out in every direction, and no surveillance cameras anywhere nearby. No neighbors within easy sight. No traffic cams. No Ring doorbell footage from houses down the road. Just darkness and trees. They searched through the night. The girls' relatives joined. Local residents showed up without being asked. The search continued until nearly 5 in the morning. Nothing. When daylight came, the operation expanded. Hundreds of volunteers arrived, some on horseback, some on ATVs. Police brought in drones and helicopters with thermal cameras. They extended the search radius outward, by miles in every direction. By the end of day 2, nothing. The temperature was dropping. Athena had been wearing light clothing. Winter in Texas can still be biting cold, especially at night. Every hour that passed made investigators more anxious. But here's where the case shifted. On the 3rd day, police started moving beyond the lost child theory. They began trying to identify every person who had been near Athena's home on the evening of November 30th. That was not an easy task in an area with zero surveillance infrastructure, but it led them somewhere. Investigators were methodically going through every person who could have been in the vicinity of the house that evening. And then one name came up. A FedEx delivery driver had made a stop at Athena's home on the night of November 30th. Police contacted FedEx immediately. The company informed them that the delivery to that address had been handled by an external contractor, a third-party logistics company. They tracked it down. They identified the specific van. And here's where the investigation cracked open. Every one of those delivery vehicles was equipped with a camera. Investigators requested the footage from November 30th. They rewound to the moment the van arrived at Athena's home. And what they saw on that screen stopped them cold. The footage showed the driver pulling a girl matching Athena's description into the vehicle. Within hours, the driver had been identified. His name was Tanner Horner. He was 31 years old. He was arrested and taken in for questioning. As soon as investigators mentioned the video, Horner started talking. What he said next raised more questions than it answered. Horner told investigators that when he arrived at the house to make the delivery, he accidentally struck Athena with his van while backing up. He said he found her on the ground. She wasn't seriously hurt. She was conscious, talking, not crying. She told him her name. And that's when, according to Horner, the panic set in. He said he didn't know what to do. He put her in the van trying to figure it out. Then Athena told him she was going to tell her father what happened. And Horner said he realized that if she did, he could lose his job, maybe face legal consequences for hitting a child. So he decided to kill her. He said he first tried to break her neck. When that didn't work, he strangled her. He then drove to a river near a neighboring town and dumped her body in the water. He gave investigators the exact location. They went there. They found Athena. She had been missing for 3 days. She was 7 years old. Let me ask you something directly. Does that account make sense to you? A man accidentally clips a child with his van. She's not seriously hurt, and his immediate conclusion is to kill her to avoid losing his job? Investigators didn't believe it either. The medical examiner's report took several weeks to come back. When it did, it raised serious problems with Horner's story. Athena died within the first hour after being taken. Her body showed injuries of varying severity. The cause of death was asphyxiation, but here is what threw everything into question. The medical examiner found no evidence of sexual assault. Why does that matter? Because investigators' working theory had been that Horner saw an opportunity, a child alone, outside, isolated, and took her with the intent to sexually assault her. The remote location, the deliberate act, the immediate decision to kill, it pointed in that direction. But the forensic evidence didn't confirm it. So what actually happened? Detectives developed 2 alternative theories. The first, Horner planned to take Athena somewhere more remote to carry out whatever he had planned. But she fought back, screaming, attempting to escape, and he killed her to prevent capture. The second, what Horner did to Athena in that van didn't leave the kind of forensic evidence medical examiners typically look for. Some forms of criminal conduct leave no physical trace the examiner would identify. Neither theory was confirmed. Both remained in play. But what investigators found next told them far more about who Tanner Horner really was. On the surface, Horner looked like someone who had come from nowhere. Before Athena's murder, he had no criminal record. He was engaged. He had a 1-year-old son. He delivered packages. He played in a band. His social media showed photos with his child, with his grandparents, at musical performances. Nothing that flagged him. But the more investigators dug, the more the surface crumbled. Police located multiple individuals who came forward, claiming Horner had assaulted them when they were children. One victim had been speaking publicly about it for years before Athena's death. She had written about it on social media. She had named him. She had tried to get people to pay attention. Nobody had. For years, nobody had believed her. Horner was charged with 3 additional incidents of sexual assault involving minors, some dating back to 2013. Whether these involved one victim or multiple has not been fully disclosed. The investigation was ongoing, and then there was the TikTok video. After Horner's identity became public, people found his account. There were only a few videos. In the last one, Posted just weeks before Athena's death, Horner filmed his reaction to a clip showing someone trapping a bug in a glass and slowly killing it with spray. As he watched the bug die, his face showed what people who saw it described as unmistakable enjoyment. That is not the reaction of someone who killed a child in a moment of panic. That is something else entirely. I want to come back to something I said at the beginning of this episode, because it is the detail that stays with me longest. The package Tanner Horner delivered to Athena's home on the evening of November 30th was a Christmas present from her parents. They had ordered it weeks earlier. It was a Barbie doll, something she had wanted for a long time. That package arrived at her front door in the hands of the man who killed her. She never opened it. Tanner Horner was charged with capital murder and kidnapping. Prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. His attorney advised him to withdraw his confession and plead not guilty. That strategy faces significant obstacles. The FedEx van footage shows him taking Athena. His own confession placed investigators at the location of her body. The prior assault allegations, now being formally prosecuted, establish a documented pattern of conduct toward children. Forensic evidence from the van, DNA, fiber, biological trace material, almost certainly adds to what was already documented. Athena's parents filed a civil lawsuit against FedEx and the contracting company, arguing that Horner should never have been given access to people's homes without more thorough screening. They are demanding higher standards for employee vetting to prevent cases like this from happening again. That lawsuit represents something beyond legal action. It represents two parents trying to make sure their daughter's death means something preventable doesn't happen to another child. Athena Strand was 7 years old. She was afraid of the dark. She loved spending time outdoors with her father. She had 2 little sisters who adored her. She wanted a Barbie doll for Christmas. A delivery driver came to her front door, and she never came home. Cases like this don't just disappear. Athena's family lives with November 30th, 2022 every single day. Her sisters grow up with an absence that never gets explained in any way a child can fully process. The trial is ahead. The death penalty is being sought. And the woman who tried for years to warn people about Tanner Horner, who wrote about what he did to her, who was ignored, is finally being heard. What do you think? Should FedEx and the contracting company bear responsibility for what happened to Athena? And do you believe Horner's account of why he did this? Or does the evidence point to something else entirely? Let me know in the comments. This case deserves the conversation. Subscribe to Unresolved Years Mysteries if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. These stories matter. These families matter. I'm Marcus Webb. Thank you for watching.